like kicking off your day with a warm sip of tea. Let's start this video with calm and an open heart. Today, I'm sharing a story about choosing between silence and action, about a mother battling illness, and what happens when trust in a family crumbles. Are you ready to listen? Settle in. This one's heavy but real. The family context and relationships before the collapse. Emma, 26, was used to carrying the weight of the world. An ICU nurse in St. Louis, she thrived under pressure, navigating life and death shifts with a calm that belied her years. At 30 weeks pregnant with her first child, she was juggling prenatal appointments, a demanding job, and the emotional toll of her mother Carol's terminal cancer. Her husband, David, 32, a lawyer with a steady demeanor, was her rock, always ready with a cup of decaf or a back rub after her 12-hour shifts. They lived in a cozy duplex, dreaming of the nursery they'd soon finish for their baby girl. Carol, Emma's mom, was the heart of their family. At 58, she'd been fighting pancreatic cancer for 2 years, but the disease had spread, and by early spring, she was in hospice care. Emma, David, and Emma's siblings, older brother Jake, 29, and younger sister Lily, 22, had rallied around her diagnosis, each coping in their own way. Jake, a laid-back contractor and David's best friend since college, lived an hour away and visited when he could, often bringing takeout to lighten the mood. Lily, the baby of the family, had stepped up in a big way. She and her long-term boyfriend, Josh, 22, a barista with a quiet charm, had moved Carol into their small apartment to care for her full-time. Emma had been the one to suggest Lily take on Carol's primary care. It wasn't an easy decision. As a nurse, Emma knew what her mom needed: medication schedules, wound care, emotional support, but her own life was stretched thin. Her pregnancy had been high risk, with early scares that kept her on edge, and her ICU shifts left her drained. Lily, who'd been working part-time at a bookstore, offered to step in. "I can do it," Lily had said, her voice firm despite her youth. "Mom needs someone with her all the time, and I'm here." Emma trusted Lily. She was young, but fiercely loving, and Josh was supportive, helping with errands and meals. Plus, Carol adored Lily's cozy apartment, with its mismatched furniture and sunny kitchen, a far cry from the sterile hospital rooms she'd endured. The arrangement made sense. Emma couldn't be at Lily's every day, not with her job and the baby on the way, but she stayed connected. She called Carol daily, often on her lunch break, listening to her mom's stories about old family vacations or her complaints about the hospice nurse's taste in music. On weekends, Emma and David would drive over, bringing groceries or Carol's favorite lemon bars. Jake would join when his schedule allowed, and the siblings would sit around Lily's cramped living room, laughing over childhood memories or watching Carol's beloved rom-coms. It wasn't perfect. Carol's pain was worsening, and her energy was fading, but Emma believed things were under control. Lily sent regular updates, assuring her that Carol was comfortable, and the hospice team seemed on top of things. Emma leaned on that trust. She'd always been close with Lily, despite their 4-year age gap. Growing up, they'd shared secrets and eye rolls over Jake's bad guitar phase. Lily was the free spirit to Emma's planner, but they balanced each other. Jake, meanwhile, was the family's glue, quick with a joke and fiercely loyal. He and David's friendship had made David feel like a brother from the start, and their Sunday football watch parties were a family staple. Carol, even as her health declined, remained the center of their orbit, her warmth and sharp wit holding them together. But cracks were forming, unnoticed by Emma in her whirlwind of work and pregnancy. Carol's condition was deteriorating faster than Lily's text suggested. The hospice nurses had noted missed doses of pain meds and delays in changing Carol's dressings, but Lily downplayed it, saying she was handling it. Emma, trusting her sister's updates, didn't push. She assumed Lily would ask for help if she needed it. Jake, busy with a big construction job, hadn't been to Lily's in weeks, relying on Emma's reports. David, swamped with a high-stakes case, trusted Emma's judgment. The family was holding on, but the threads were fraying. It wasn't until a chilly Saturday in April that Emma saw the truth. She'd taken a rare day off and decided to surprise Carol with a visit, bringing a batch of homemade cookies. When she arrived at Lily's apartment, the scene hit her like a punch. Carol was in bed, her face gaunt, her breathing shallow. The room smelled of unwashed linens, and a tray of untouched food sat on the nightstand. Lily looked exhausted, her eyes red, and Josh was nowhere in sight. Emma's nurse instincts kicked and something was wrong. Deeply wrong. What she saw that day would unravel the trust she'd placed in her sister and force her to question everything she thought she knew about her family. The explosion at Lily's house. Emma's heart sank the moment she stepped into Lily's apartment that April Saturday. The air was stale, heavy with neglect. Carol, her once vibrant mother, lay in a hospital bed in the corner of the living room, her frail body slumped in soiled linens. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her breathing was labored. Emma, her nurse's instincts screaming, rushed to her side and found pressure sores on Carol's hipsert, angry wounds from lying too long in one position. Carol's eyes fluttered open, but she was too weak to speak, her hand trembling as it reached for Emma's. David, 32, standing behind Emma, froze, his jaw tight with shock and fury. Emma fought to stay calm, her training kicking in despite the panic clawing at her chest. She checked Carol's pulse, her hands shaking as she lifted the blankets and saw the extent of the neglect. "How did this happen?" she whispered, more to herself than anyone. Lily, 22, who'd been hovering near the kitchen, looked disheveled, her hair unwashed, her eyes bloodshot. "I've been trying," Lily stammered, her voice defensive. "It's not as easy as you think." Josh, 22, Lily's boyfriend, was conspicuously absent, and the apartment was a mess, dirty dishes piled in the sink, trash bags by the door. Emma didn't have time to argue. She grabbed clean linens from a nearby stack and started gently cleaning Carol, her hands moving with practiced care even as her mind raced. "We need to get her to a hospital or a proper hospice facility," she said, her voice steady but urgent. She called the hospice agency, explaining the situation in clipped tones, demanding an immediate assessment. The nurse on the line promised to send someone within the hour. Emma's focus was on her mom, but the betrayal was sinking in. Lily had let this happen, and Emma hadn't seen it coming. David, meanwhile, was unraveling. His usual calm was gone, replaced by a simmering rage. "This is unacceptable," he growled, pacing the small apartment. He pulled out his phone and called Jake, 29, Emma's brother, his best friend. "Get over here now," David said, his voice low and furious. "You need to see this." Jake, who'd been at a job site, promised to be there in 20 minutes. David's anger wasn't just at Lily, it was at himself, at Emma, at the whole family for trusting that everything was fine. When Jake arrived, the tension in the room was suffocating. He took one look at Carol, at the sewers and the filth, and his face went dark. "What the hell? Lily," he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. Lily, now in tears, tried to explain. "I've been doing my best. You don't know how hard it is," she cried. Josh, who just walked in from a coffee run, froze, sensing the storm. Jake turned on him next. "Where were you? She's been lying here like this, and you're out getting lattes." David, barely containing himself, joined in. "You both let her suffer," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "You said you could handle this." Lily, desperate, turned to Emma, who was still tending to Carol. Tell them I tried." "You know I didn't mean for this." Emma, her hands full of gauze and antiseptic, stayed silent, her focus on her mom. That silence was deafening. Lily's face crumpled, and in a frantic move, she grabbed the Bible from Carol's bedside table. One Emma had been reading to her moment, tried to yank it from Emma's reach, as if reclaiming something sacred would justify her. Jake reacted instinctively, stepping between them and shoving Lily back, hard. She stumbled into the wall, gasping. Josh, seeing Lily hit, lunged at Jake, fists clenched. Before anyone could blink, David swung, his fist connecting with Josh's jaw. Josh staggered, blood trickling from his lip, and the room erupted. Lily screamed, Jake shouted, and David stood ready for another swing. Emma, finally looking up, yelled, "Stop it, all of you," her voice, raw with exhaustion and grief, cut through the chaos. The room fell silent, everyone breathing heavily, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. The hospice nurse arrived minutes later, her presence a stark reminder of why they were there. She assessed Carol, confirming the need for immediate transfer to a facility with round-the-clock care. As Carol was prepared for transport, Emma sat by her side, holding her hand, tears streaming down her face. The fight, the accusations, the violent sight all felt secondary to the fact that her mom had suffered under their watch. Reflecting later, Emma knew there was blame to go around. She'd trusted Lily too blindly, ignoring signs of strain in her sister's updates. Jake and David had let their anger boil over into fists, escalating a pain that didn't need more fuel. Lily and Josh had failed Carol, overwhelmed but too proud to ask for help. Yet, as Emma watched her mom being wheeled away, she couldn't deny a grim truth. The explosion felt justified. Carol's suffering demanded accountability, even if it tore them apart. The family Emma thought she knew was fractured, and she wasn't sure if they could ever rebuild what was lost. The aftermath and inner turmoil. The chaos at Lily's apartment left a scar on Emma's family that no one could ignore. Carol was transferred to a hospice facility that same day. Her condition stabilized, but her time dwindling. Emma, 26, now 30 weeks pregnant, spent hours by her mom's bedside, holding her frail hand, whispering apologies for failing her. The image of Carol's pressure sores, the neglect she'd endured, haunted Emma's dreams. Back home, the silence between her, David 32, Jake 29, and Lily 22 was louder than the fight itself. The family, that once gathered for football Sundays and Carol's lemon bars, was splintered, and Emma was caught in a storm of guilt, anger, and doubt. Emma's emotions were a tangle. She didn't regret the confrontation. It had forced the truth into the open, ensuring Carol got proper care. But the violence, the raw fury of Jake shoving Lily and David punching Josh, gnawed at her. She kept replaying her own silence when Lily begged for support. That moment, when she'd chosen Carol's care over defending her sister, felt like a betrayal of the bond they'd shared. Lily was still her little sister, the one who'd braided her hair as kids, who'd cried in her arms when their dad left. Yet Lily's negligence had endangered their mom. Could Emma forgive that? Should she? David was resolute. "We don't owe anyone an apology," he said one night, his voice firm as they sat in their dimly lit kitchen. "Lily and Josh let your mom suffer. They don't get a free pass because they're family." Jake, nursing a beer at their dining table, nodded. "They screwed up, Em. You don't apologize for calling out something that bad." Their stance was clear. Accountability trumped sentiment. Lily had taken on Carol's care and failed, and the fallithour ugly was on her. Emma understood their logic, but it didn't quiet the ache in her chest. Alone with her thoughts, Emma wrestled with the moral weight. Was family a shield for irresponsibility? Lily hadn't meant to harm Carol. She was overwhelmed, in over her head, too stubborn to admit she couldn't cope. But intent didn't erase the sores on Carol's skin or the days she'd gone without proper pain relief. Emma wondered if her own silence during the fight was complicity in a different way. By not stepping in, had she let the situation escalate to violence? As a nurse, she'd been trained to de-escalate, to prioritize care over conflict. Yet in that moment, her focus was Carol, not Lily. The choice felt right then, but now it left her questioning her own heart. Emma's pregnancy added another layer of turmoil. She was weeks from motherhood, yet her family was unraveling. She imagined her daughter growing up without the tight-knit clan she'd known. Carol's warmth, Lily's laughter, Jake's dumb jokes. The thought broke her. She wanted to reach out to Lily, to bridge the gap, but every time she picked up her phone, she stopped. What would she say? "I'm sorry, but you still let Mom down." The words felt hollow. Lily hadn't reached out either, and Josh, nursing a bruised jaw, had gone quiet. Jake and David, meanwhile, were steadfast, their anger a wall Emma couldn't breach. Days turned into weeks. Carol's condition worsened, and Emma split her time between the hospice facility and preparing for the baby. She called Jake daily, updating him on their mom, but Lily's name rarely came up. The silence between the sisters grew heavier, a wound neither was ready to touch. Emma considered apologizing not for the confrontation, but for the way it unfolded, for the violence that tainted it. She thought it might be a gesture of principle, a way to honor the family tie despite everything. But something held her back. Was it pride? Or was it the nagging truth that Lily's actions had consequences too big for a simple sorry to fix? Emma hasn't apologized, and she's not sure if she will. She's left this story here, raw and unresolved, because she needs to know. Do you understand her? Do you see the impossible choice between love and accountability? Or is she wrong, clinging to a grudge when family should come first? Emma's heart is torn, caught between the sister she loves and the mother she failed. She hopes you'll share your thoughts, because right now, she's searching for clarity, or at least a sign she's not alone. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought with fists, but within the quiet of your own conscience.